This time of year, everyone talks about going dry. But at Athletic Brewing Company, we're skipping that because we prefer going athletic, which isn't dry at all. From crisp Goldens to hoppy IPAs and limited releases in between, you'll find something that fits your style. Every single non-alcoholic brew is packed with flavor and the same craft experience you love. So yeah, you could call it dry, but there's really nothing dry about it. Find your new favorite near beer at athleticbrewing.com. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times.
In postseason football, you need to find that extra gear. On FanDuel, it's called Playoff Mode. Big boosts, more rewards, and a whole new way to live parlay with Drive SGP. Turn on Playoff Mode, only on FanDuel.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
We work hard to strike the right amount of intelligence and ignorance. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We've all seen videos online of dogs that know hundreds of words, but how do they learn them? Do they learn those words like little kids? Well, I'm here with Dr. Cliff Redford. It is Vet Talk. It is Pet Talk. Cliff is a veterinarian, definitely, and we are going to chat this science story. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Kind of a science story. Thanks for having me as usual. How do kids learn words? Do they learn words the same as dogs? Like if they get it wrong, you bite their ear and rub their nose in their poop? Like, isn't that how you do it?
I think if the authorities knew you were doing that, you wouldn't have your kids long enough to know.
Well, my kids don't make mistakes because they know what happens if they do.
Oh, boy. All right. Great parent, veterinarian. He's even better with your pets, people.
I am. I'm just joshing you guys. Yeah, this was a interesting article. I've always heard that dogs have the intelligence of 2 to 3, like kids that are aged 2 to 3, depending on the dog, and I guess technically depending on the kid,
yeah,
as well, right?
I don't buy it, but I'll accept it as a thing people say to keep listening to you.
Well, I guess the thing is what is intelligence, right? Like, you know, a 3-year-old child can probably read a little bit, and they can have conversations to a certain point. You can't get that with your dog.
No.
But that is as much an issue of the difference between dogs and people. It's not, you know, I can't say ruff properly.
Like if you could have some AI program to read the dog's face and understand the bark, and then you could have an AI video of a dog responding to them in a bark, maybe you could do that? I don't know, probably not. But
yeah,
maybe.
I'm not sure how it would work. So that's the problem is we think of intelligence as, you know, our intelligence. Right? Like we build nuclear bombs, and which probably shows that we're dumb.
Well, I don't.
But we're as a society, we have planes and cars, and we talk to each other on podcasts, or is it a radio show?
Both, baby.
Both, baby. But there are other forms of intelligence. But this article became sort of the big news. Way back in 2004, there was a reported case of a border collie named Rico. And Rico knew the names of more than 200 different toys. So big ball, little ball, teddy bear, whatever, kitty cat, like whatever the toy is, he could pick out all these 200 toys. And so researchers started to look into, well, how is that possible? Is it possible that he's picking up on some sort of signal from, you know, his owners or his handler that maybe even they don't know they're giving a signal to? And what they ended up doing was they found, first of all, that there are types of sort of highly intelligent dogs. Border collies are one of them. But then they found a lot of other breeds, including pugs, that were these dogs known as label learner dogs. And what they were able to show is if the dog knows the word for ball, teddy bear, and bone, and you have those 3 objects in a room, but then you have a 4th object, which could be whatever, a mouse, a little toy mouse. And you say, hey, David's the dog in this case. Hey, David, get me the mouse.
I can do that. Oh, no, you're talking about the dog. Got it.
That's right. The dogs in these categories, these super intelligent dogs, were able to say, well, I know what those three things are. I don't know what mouse is. There's the only object I don't know. Let me get him that object.
And the scientists studying it think, oh, the dog understands mouse.
Well, but that's how children learn, right? When I first started to learn the language of Greek, I did it via Rosetta Stone. And Rosetta Stone, it literally just says, here's a ball, Ebola. It's just a picture of a ball and the word Ebola, which means the ball.
Not Ebola, which is a separate thing that you don't want.
And then it would show me 4 balls, 3 of them are green, 1 of them's red, and it would say, this is the coquino ball, red ball. So I would, without anyone teaching me anything, without there being any English on the screen, I could figure out that coquino means red. So it's just a process of elimination. And there are these dogs, and again, it's these sort of label learner dogs, these super intelligent dogs that are hyper focused on objects. So that's the thing, is they had to find breeds and dogs specifically that had this hyper focus, almost obsessiveness towards objects and grabbing objects and paying attention to objects. So much so that they were never distracted by anything else, but they could learn over 100 terms. The problem is do they learn like children? Maybe like toddlers, yes. But then, of course, children then start to learn at about 2 years old, they start to learn 10 words a day. And they start to understand, the children, how to formulate sentences.
Yeah, there's like a very exponential or very steep curve. Like,
Right.
oh, these kids are getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter, and it's just going to the point where they're going to be able to speak, whereas dogs just sort of match kids at the beginning and then drop off.
Yeah, or they actually excel children at the beginning. I mean, a 9-month-old child is not really going to grasp the concept of more than a couple of toys, let's say. They're really learning how to stand and, how to I don't know, eat, what happens when the airplane comes into the aircraft with the little marmalade on it or whatever, the baby pablum on it. But a 9-month-old dog already knows a whole bunch of commands, and you could teach a 9-month-old a lot of these sort of objects. But a dog is considered an adult at 1 year old. Like, they stop growing, they stop developing physically. So there's this huge different growth pattern, but they basically discovered that there are a group of breeds that are specifically known for being these high IQ breeds. And now they're wondering, okay, can we start utilizing this as an IQ test? Which then the bells and alarms go off in my head. 'Cause I'm like, oh no, they're going to do an IQ test, and then breeders are going to start IQ testing their dogs.
Yeah,
and
this is like
selecting their
really
dogs.
for a small set of gifted dogs. Not every dog is going to learn words. A lot of them are idiots. I'm looking at my cat over here. I love him, but he's not a smart cat.
He might be. We just don't know, right? That's the problem. We can't communicate with them, and, he might be smart by allowing you to think that he's dumb. And he
Also,
has
they
to
could
take-
be smart in like other ways than understanding commands. So your dog
That's
could be
right.
a genius but not know any words. But he's really
Yeah.
smart at stealing treats out of a box that you think he can't get into when you're not home.
That great Douglas Adams series of books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there was that one book, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish.
The
And
dolphins.
It was that the dolphins are the smartest creatures in the world, but actually the mice are the second smartest.
Yep.
And they were
Well, you
doing...
just spoiled the ending, but go on.
They were doing... it's an old book. Give me a break. They were doing... the mice were allowing people to do experiments on them, and therefore they were then monitoring what the people would figure out in the experiments, thus doing an experiment on us humans, something like that. What is the meaning of life? We never quite figured that out, did we?
But back to this study, do dogs learn like children? Bottom line.
Some dogs learn like children at the beginning of the child's life, where it's just process of elimination regarding names for objects. And then that's where it stops.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
I've heard the buzz that dogs can sniff cancer out, early detection of it. I suppose it would be cheaper than doing an MRI or getting x-rays or whatever it is that they do to check you for these things. You could just go to the doctor's office and in the room you'd be in there with a sniffing dog. But how close are we to this, and what types of cancer can the dog sniff? That's what I want to chat about here with Dr. Cliff Redford, a veterinarian. Cliff, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. So this, dogs obviously smell a lot better than we do. They believe.
I've smelled some pretty rank dogs, Cliff.
But that was very good. Thank you,
welcome.
David.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
Apparently, dogs can detect odors more acutely than people, to the factor of 10,000 to 100,000 times better.
I hear this about pets and also cats, and I'm like, how can this be?
Wow. And it's like sharks can smell a single drop of blood in like a hectare of the ocean, and the reason dogs can smell so well is, one, they have a lot more sense receptors in their nostrils, something like we have 3 million and they have 300 million. So, 100 times more, but also their brain is not set out so much for language and learning language like we just discussed in the previous segment, but they have larger sections of their brain that are dedicated to processing odors. Now, what I didn't realize as I was doing research on this story, there are dogs called biodetection dogs, and they've been trained to detect certain diseases in humans, specifically chronic wasting disease. PTSD has an odor, which kind of makes sense because it'll change your cortisol levels and some of your hormones.
Yeah, your stress, your sweat, like little subtle body signals that you're dealing with PTSD.
Human ovarian cancer, human pancreatic cancer. That's it. So those ones. And so they wanted to see, all right, what about in dogs? Can dogs detect cancer in other dogs? I mean, they're already sniffing their butts, so you might as well see what else they can find out, right? And they specifically went after a cancer called hemangiosarcoma. Hemangiosarcoma is one of the most common cancers, unfortunately, especially in large breed dogs. And cancer is the number one reason dogs pass away, period, regardless of breed, regardless of anything. Now, the problem with hemangiosarcoma is it is a tumor that generally grows on the spleen and grows undetected. And we call it in the industry the silent killer, because your dog is going to be feeling fine, 9, 10, 11 years old, sometimes younger, sometimes older. And then all of a sudden, unbeknownst to any of us, there's this tumor in the spleen that's been developing for months, and all of a sudden it ruptures. And often, probably about half the time, the dog passes away right then and there due to blood loss in the abdomen. So by the time you discover it, even if they do survive, it's now already spread. You got to remove the spleen so it doesn't rupture again. You need chemotherapy, and it's already spread to other organs, the liver and the heart being the key main ones that it spreads to. So our ability to extend life is limited, maybe 6 months.
Sounds pretty grim.
It's
something
pretty
you'd
grim.
want. And if you
Yeah.
detect it early, can you do something about it?
Well, yes, absolutely. Because there is a point where if the spleen is the first location, which normally it is, if you can detect it before it becomes malignant and spreads elsewhere, you can remove the spleen. Dogs do very well without their spleen. They're less sensitive without it than, say, we are. It doesn't affect their immune system the same way. And then you're not only avoiding the rupturing of the spleen, but you're avoiding this tumor from spreading. So they needed to see, does hemangiosarcoma have an odor? And what they did was they took a series of 12 blood samples from dogs with known hemangiosarcoma and trained the dogs to, hey, if you sniff this, we're going to give you a treat kind of thing. And then they did a proper double-blinded, placebo-controlled study. And they had, again, 12 samples of different hemangiosarcoma cases, 12 samples of non-cancerous but unhealthy dogs. They had some other illness, and then 12 samples from completely healthy dogs. And the groups of dogs that they were training ended up with 70% accuracy, detected the blood from the dogs that had hemangiosarcoma. And that 70% accuracy, which, I mean, that's not great, but it's good for an initial screening. That 70% accuracy is what these biodetection dogs that discover PTSD and ovarian cancer and all the things we talked about, they have about the same accuracy as well. So they're thinking, all right, this means that hemangiosarcoma has a detectable, notable odor. Now, unfortunately, that means they're going to now try and find a machine that can detect that odor. So now these dogs are going to lose their jobs to AI. That seems to be the trend to all these things. But it is hope. It is hope that we might be able to do something about this.
Taking a step back, high level, what I talked about at the beginning here, how soon are we going to go to like the oncologist or even our GP or a primary care physician, and there's going to be a dog in the office sniffing for various ailments? Like, and go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to come in and they'll be like, okay, Mr. Cooper, it is time for your lab test. And it'll be a lab.
It's a lab. It's a lab. That's a kind of dog.
Now, what happens if you need a CAT scan? Then
Boom.
What happens? Boom.
It's like cops use dogs. I remember this is a bit of a derail, but it just goes to show how good these dogs are at sniffing. I'm at the airport here in New York. I think it's JFK. I had just come and I cleared customs. I'm waiting for my bag. There's a young girl, like 23, next to me. She gets her bag, and then there's the cop with the dog or the customs agent with the dog, and the dog alerts on her bag. And I'm thinking like, wow, I am currently witnessing this woman's life potentially being ruined. Why is she smuggling drugs? What's going on? I'm just sitting there in awe. Like I'm watching a very polite interaction, a cute little dog with his paw on this woman's suitcase. And then and I'm standing right there, and the cop says to her, "Do you have any fruits or vegetables in your bag?" And then she's like, "Oh, I think I do have an orange." And then he's like, "Come with me." I assume she can get in trouble for the orange, but probably less trouble than drugs or something.
Than drugs, that's right.
Yeah,
it's funny. She's like, "Yes, I have an orange. Darn it, you caught me." And then she's like, I got a kilo of
clementines in your bag. And I'm sure
I was gonna say real drugs. She's got a kilo of real drugs in there, and she used the orange to trick them. It's the Trojan horse kind of thing, to throw them off. But
I guess I would like to see these sniffing dogs in the doctor's office, and I keep hearing about how good they are at detecting a wide array of ailments. Why is there no pup in the doctor's office?
You're gonna be taking away lab technicians' jobs, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's the issue that some people are afraid of dogs. If you're going to the doctor's office, you could argue that there's a zoonotic risk of certain diseases being spread back and forth. What if you are immunocompromised and then you got this dog sniff? Would they sniff your butt? Where would they sniff?
Maybe there are butt ailments, Cliff.
It would be weird if there were like, you pull a blood and then, you hand it to the dog to see if they sniff it. And the problem is they can only test for very specific things, like in this case, hemangiosarcoma.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know, just run all my blood and see in general how healthy I am, and then start looking at other things, right?
If I were to play a recent episode of Dr. Cliff Redford's podcast, Vet Life, what might I hear, Cliff?
Yes, you are going to hear about the possible cat conspiracy that apparently Tomato is aware of. He is a part of the cat cabal, where they are focusing on Earth domination.
Okay. I'm excited to hear that.
Check it out. And David got a letter from a fan /stalker /informed citizen, a concerned citizen that wanted David to know, and he somehow sent it to my office that Tomato might be spying on us.
This is all true. We got a very strange, I hope sarcastic, joking letter from a fan about my cat, and we covered it on Cliff's podcast. Cliff, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, David.
Welcome to Survivor 50.
February 25th on Global.
We chose you to represent 25 years of the greatest adventure on television.
It's the biggest season ever.
The twist is going to open up Pandora's box.
Now I see Zach Brown on Survivor.
Welcome to Survivor, Mr. Beast.
Feels a little like a high school reunion meets a massacre.
Survivor 50th season, Wednesday, February 25th on Global. Stream on Stack TV.